welcome back to another video in this series Learn to Knit. Today we're going to learn a different stitch. It's a little bit different or a little bit more complicated than the ones that we've already done here, but it's very beautiful and it gives a very nice effect. It's still just knit stitch and purl stitch, but we're going to be alternating them to create this beautiful moss stitch or seed stitch. And this is what it looks like. As you can see, we've got purl stitches and knit stitches in the front of the work, and it looks exactly the same on the back of the work as well. So this is perfect for a scarf. It's reversible. You could also use it for washcloth. It makes really nice because it has these purl bumps that helps with the scrubbing if you use it as a washcloth. And let's go ahead and see how we're going to work it. So if you want to learn how to cast on, I will link the video up here, so you go and watch that video if you want to learn how to cast on. Also in previous videos we've covered the garter stitch, 1x1 rib, 2x2 rib, and stockinette, which is normally used in a lot of projects. And today we're going to do the moss stitch. So after you cast on, you want to do knit one, purl one all over, all the way to the end, and then that's what I'm going to do now. So let's pretend this is my cast on row. I'm going to go in the first stitch, wrap the yarn around, pull through, take it off the needle. That's a knit stitch. The next is going to be a purl stitch, so I'm going to bring my yarn in the front and I'm going to go from right to left, wrap my needle around the yarn and pull through. So I've done a knit and a purl, and I'm going to alternate these two stitches. So the next one I'm going to knit, then I'm going to yarn forward and purl. So I want to do this all the way to the end. This would be my first row. If you would like to knit a scarf, I advise that you cast on somewhere between 40 and 60 stitches. And then all you need to do is alternate these two stitches, as I'm going to show you in this video. And continue doing that until your scarf it's long enough. And then bind off. So I finished my first row, and then I'm going to turn my work, and this is the twist that I'm going to do. So I'm going to look at my work and see this first stitch, it has a V at the bottom. That means I should knit this stitch normally, but in seed stitch you always do the opposite. So if this is a knit stitch, I'm going to purl it. So I'm going to bring my yarn forward. Then I'm going to go from right to left, wrap the yarn around the needle and purl it. Then the next stitch has this scarf around it. which means it's a purl stitch. Normally I would purl it, but in seed stitch you knit it. So I'm going to knit it. And I want to have a look at the next stitch. Has a V underneath and the first leg is in the front. So I'm going to purl it. Oops. Then the next stitch is a purl stitch because it has this little wrap around it, but I'm going to knit it. So in seed stitch you always knit the purls and purl the knits. This one is a knit, I'm going to purl it. This one is a purl, I'm going to knit it. And that is it. So if you want to knit the mod stitch, you do the setup row with it, which is knit 1, purl 1, knit 1, purl 1, all the way to the end. And then from then onward, every row you knit the knit stitch and you purl the purl stitch. And it's going to alternate and create this beautiful texture. And I hope that you can see it here. There it is. It's just gorgeous. Now I want to show you a slightly different moss stitch, which is called double moss stitch, and that is a little bit different. So it starts the same way. You knit the purls and you purl the knits. So this is a purl, I'm going to knit it. The knit, I'm going to purl it. So I'm going to do that all the way to the end, and the only difference that I'm going to make is on the wrong side. So this is a 2-row repeat. So I got to the end of my row. Now I'm going to turn, and normally in moss stitch, in simple moss stitch, I would just continue purl the knit, knits the purl, purl the knit, knit the purl. But in double moss stitch, I'm going to knit the knit and purl the purl. So this is a knit stitch, I'm going to knit it. Move on to a purl stitch, I'm going to purl it. Knit, stitch, knit, yarn forward to purl, yarn back to knit, okay. So that is row number 2 in double moss stitch, and as you can see, it's starting to look a little bit different because now we're going to have rows of 2 knits, 2 purls, 2 knits, 2 purls. But when we turn our work, we're going to alternate as we do in moss stitch. So this would be row 3, which I'm going to purl the knits. So this one is a knit stitch. I'm going to purl it, and this one is a purl stitch. I'm going to knit it. Purl the knit, knit the purl. So that's row number 3, and now I'm going to do row number 4, which is the same as row number 2. Oops, sorry about that. I have a purl stitch. I'm going to purl it. So purl the purls and knit the knits. Then I have a knit stitch, then a purl stitch, then a knit stitch, and I continue alternating, knitting the knits and purling the purls all the way to the end. Okay, ooh. Here we go. You can see a little bit, maybe I should do a bit more fabric. You can see a little bit of a difference there. It's kind of like a broken rib, I would say. But depending on what you prefer, I think the simple moss stitch looks more elegant. The double moss stitch still looks beautiful, but not as tidy as simple moss stitch. But yeah, I hope that you enjoyed this lesson in Learn to Knit, moss stitch and double moss stitch for today. And I will see you in my next video. Bye!